studio, the ever-present Will Pugh, and delighted to say, returning Tom Edwards. No James Jones tonight, but when you've got a lead that big in a West Ham quiz, you can afford a night off or a week off, however you want to look at it. Refreshing up, an international break of sorts, Will, because you need to get your game back on form. Of course, tonight we will be looking at the Aston Villa 0-0 disappointing draw last night. Is it disappointing? Was it a point gained or 2 points dropped? We will be looking at that and getting the boys' thoughts. We're also going to be looking at Declan Rice and how he did in that international break within the England setup. There will be a quiz of some sorts, not your typical West Ham quiz, one with a twist tonight, so stay tuned for that. And also we will be looking towards the massive fixture on the weekend, West Ham versus Manchester United. Don Booth will be joining us, writer for MEN. But firstly, we have to start with last night. I watched it all. Soft spot for you guys, had to watch it because we're going to be talking West Ham tonight. What a game to tune in, 0-0. Will,
sort of lucky to escape with the point, and I kind of understand that, given that when you go down to 10 men, it makes sense. People expect the momentum shift, but to be honest, there was a momentum shift, and that was the best we played was after we got Masuaku sent off. Thought the red card was harsh. All in all, it was just, I don't know. Declan Rice said afterwards that it was a game we would have lost last season, and while I think he is right, it's also, those are also the sort of games this season where if we want to push on like we've all been talking about, that you also might nick one at the end.
Tom, what are West Ham fans putting that performance down to? Because it was off the back of an international break. You did play Monday, so you would have had more time to work with the players back from that international break. But West Ham just did not seem to be at the races, did they?
It felt like one of those games where the players who'd actually been away on international break were slightly fresher. They were more in the routine of playing competitive games. And the guys who actually sat at home, and Noble said he went away, Marbella I think it was, he looked good in the second half. But I think in general we just lacked a bit of energy, felt a little bit laboured compared to how we were against Norwich, where we were very much on the front foot all game, pressing high up the pitch. And I thought they were there for the taking last night. Even with 10 men, I thought it was a weird one to take Anderson off at that time, because I think he's got pace and he's the type of player who, when teams are pushing for a result, he'll hit him on the counter, and I thought that was a bit odd. But I thought it was one of those, like Will said and like Declan Rice said, I think we would have lost last year, so a point's a point on the road and you can't ever knock that.
I think you always have to take positives from any game, and I think Declan Rice is truly right. It might have been a game you lost last year away to a newly promoted side, fighting for every ball. It was a clean sheet, it was a point. In any eyes, that's two positives to take. Let's talk about the red card then, Will, because I have to admit, the second yellow, very, very soft in my opinion, not a yellow at all. And obviously asking a West Ham fan, hopefully you agree.
No, yeah, I mean, it was, but it was one of those where, Pellegrini came out afterwards, didn't he, and said that, it was the sort of, if that was at home, we wouldn't have got it. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter, to be fair, because you're a professional footballer, and yeah, it was really soft, and it was pretty much a dive from El Mohammadi. But by the same token, if you've already got a yellow, and to be fair, Masuaku did, it was like a WWE style body slam for his first yellow card in the first half. So when you've already got a yellow card and you're away from home, don't dive in. And it was such an innocuous position as well. I think El Mohammadi had it like just inside Villa's half, near-ish the halfway line, on the touchline for a throw-in. And you just think, well, all right, yeah, the players made the most of it, as any professional footballer would. Why are you lunging in and giving him the opportunity to?
Yeah, I agree. I thought as much as it's a bit soft and you say there's a little contact there, I think you got more actually look at Masuaku's defending in that instance, and he's diving in a non-dangerous position particularly. He could have shown him down the line, he could have bought time for his wingers to help him out rather than just dive in like we saw him do a couple times in the match. And that's one of the aspects of his game why West Ham fans still have this debate, and why we also have this debate who would you rather, Cresswell or Masuaku going forward, or Cresswell's defending. I mean, that's a bit of a problem position for us.
Well, it might not all be from a West Ham perspective, but talking about diving in, there was a notable Aston Villa moment where Mings and El Ghazi little bit handbags, small slight headbutt, shall we say. VAR looked at it. Will, I know you're a fan of VAR. What did you make of that, even though it was Aston Villa 2 players? It was very strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was absurd. And I'm still, I mean, the reason, I thought it, was definitely going to get pulled back. It's a headbutt, it's violent conduct.
I thought the same, yeah.
We saw the same thing with Bowyer and Dyer, which is what everyone was talking about last night after the incident. And I thought it was absolutely bizarre. I think the line that's come out since is that the reason there was no red card is there was no, it wasn't enough violent intent, I think, and where if he'd pulled his head back a little bit more and then lunged at him. But to be honest, no way in 1,000 years, if that was the other way round, then if that was two opposition players, be it West Ham or otherwise, if that had happened, two opponents, there's 1,000,000% that would have been a red card.
Well, this is the point I make, because obviously if it was two opposing players, let's take West Ham and Aston Villa in that sense, it's a straight red, isn't it, Tom? They're going to look at it, he's leant forward with his head, how aggressively or how much intent, we know that can be questioned, it's subjective, but that's a sending off, and we ask for VAR, surely it's one rule for one rule for the other. You don't want to send off two players for arguing themselves, but is this where fans get a little bit like, what are the rules here? Because it's a little bit double standard, isn't it, Tom?
I think exactly that. I think it's just the VAR, the whole point about bringing it in was that it would clear up all these ambiguities and all these things in football, and there would be a answer, this is that, and this is yellow or red, and it would be clear cut. But I think it's actually causing more problems, because when something like that happens, and you've seen Mike Dean maybe not have noticed it during the game, maybe like last year, you even just get on with the game, everyone just says, oh, Mike's not seen that, and the game crashes on. But with VAR now, it's a bit of a talking point after the game, even more so than it would be normally, because now you've got the option of VAR and you can look back at it and you can say, well, if that contact wasn't another player, say if you did it to Noble, that is a red card now.
Yeah, and Mike Dean never one to shirk away from making it all about him in what is his 700th season now in the Premier League. Let's talk about Fabianski, because for me, he was West Ham's Player of the Year last year, is that right?
Yep.
So I don't want to start off with saying he doesn't get enough credit, because he absolutely does. He was West Ham's Player of the Year. But is he in some small way, Will, underrated? Because last night you can say, and as Declan Rice said, this is a point that maybe we wouldn't have got last year. Maybe it's one point that you wouldn't have got at all without him, and he's just someone that when it's not going your way, you're not going through the gears, absolutely dependable, solid, was brilliant last night, a few chances. How lucky do you feel to have him?
Yeah, I mean, I gave him our man of the match last night, and I just thought he was a calming presence behind a defence that looked really fragile. I mean, it's getting a bit old, the line now about the weakness or the strengths, if you like, of our fullbacks. And yeah, they are outstanding going forward. I thought Fredericks was lazy last night. I was really disappointed in him. He's good going forward. We get that, but he wasn't tracking back. He just generally, and Diop, who I think unfortunately for him was made to look quite erratic last night. But
Diop was actually got man of the match.
Yeah, which was bizarre.
Yeah,
but then
bizarre,
I think it came across as an erratic performance from Diop because he was continually isolated by Fredericks, who he was playing on that side, and with like I say, that defence does look fragile. Even last night against an Aston Villa side who aren't going to score loads of goals this season, it was just one of them where Fabianski's there. He was by far the most calm, cool, and professional head in that defence when we looked pretty fragile.
Yeah, I think Fabianski, I don't think he's underrated, but I think he's rated very highly by West Ham fans. I think it's outside of the West Ham bubble where he doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think his starting the game at Arsenal, where he's obviously made a few high-profile mistakes in big games, probably still haunting him.
As all young keepers do, don't they?
Exactly. And look at Arsenal; they've had a few who've done that, and a few have gone on to have very good careers. Look at Szczesny now, Juventus number one. Like, it's one of those things where you make a mistake as a goalie and you'll forever be remembered for it. Even Rob Green, he's had a great career, obviously retired now, but
it's
he's
the position
remembered
where
for
you're
one
most
thing.
scrutinised,
Exactly.
isn't it? Sorry, Tom.
No, not at all. And one mistake can change a career and can change the way you go. And honestly, we're probably lucky, because if he didn't make that mistake at Arsenal, he definitely wouldn't be at a club like us. He would be one of the top 4 clubs. That's how good I really think he is. As a shot stopper, I don't think there's many better in the league, if any.
Well, you were saying that, Declan Rice, was saying it was a point dropped. Is that the general consensus among the West Ham fans? Because it is very easy to almost kick yourselves in today and last night. Look at that. If we want to do what we want to achieve this season, the expectation, we need to be beating Aston Villa, or we need to be beating a newly promoted side. But today, after the dust settles, is there more like, well, it's a point, it's a clean sheet. Do you know what? I'll actually take it come the end of the year. I'm not as maybe disappointed as I was last night, Will.
Yeah, I think that all, as time goes on, that will probably be the feeling more so, because you still got to look at it that we're still unbeaten this season, apart from the against Manchester City. So we're unbeaten the last 4 Prem games now, which that's a plus in itself, isn't it? We've had 3 away games now. We've only we've had 1 winnable game at home basically, which was Norwich. We've had 3 away games and got 5 points from 3. If you carry on that away points ratio this season, then you'd happily take that towards the come the end of the year. I just think it was I think everyone going into it, there was a real groundswell of optimism, wasn't there? And the fact that we could have gone level on points with second, it would have been that real like, oh, hang on a minute, yeah, this is something good here. And, maybe that has been checked a little bit. But we've got Man United next time out, and they're, as has been proved already this season, they're more than beatable. And, we beat them last year, didn't we? And there's no reason why I don't think we can do that again. And then perhaps that optimism comes back. But I think it's just one of them last night. That no matter how good they might have been so far, Aston Villa, which, let's be honest, isn't great. They've been all right. Because they're a newly promoted side, everyone sort of thinks, we can go there. And it's not. I don't think it's the end of the world, and I think it's one of them where it's just like, that's annoying, but if we go out and beat Man United next week, it doesn't matter.
Why do all fans, Tom, and this is all fans, so I'm not painting you two, but all fans, we do this before we've even got the 3 points, before we've even got the win, we go, right, we get this win, we're level with City. It's only 5 games into a Premier League season, but we already looked at it, we bank it like it's happened, don't it? And now we're like, oh, why do we do that? It's 5 games in of what is a very, very long season, Tom.
It is the hope which kills you, isn't it? Honestly, every year you think we could do Leicester, couldn't we? Really? Come on. Got a squad here, but we all know that's what kills us at the end of the day. But I think that's why having Pellegrini now, he tempers it, and I think if we push too hard yesterday for the win and end up losing, then we're in a much darker place. And I think what he did at Brighton, he did a similar thing at Brighton where we were going for it and we had a period where we were actually on top at 1-0 and he took off Chicharito for Carlos Sanchez, and I think he's playing the game a bit this year and trying to just be hard to beat away from home. So
3 points is 3 points at whatever end of the season you get them, though, isn't it? It's one of them things. People quick to forget that. Although I'm looking at the table earlier on today, you've got those names up there already, haven't you? Like the teams who are going to finish in those places, they're there already. They're there now. They don't sort of canter into the season and then come November, December, go, all right, come on then, let's start playing so we can finish where people expect us to. These points matter now just as much as they do at the end when you're chasing
But if you're saying the big 6 are already there, so are West Ham, because they're the next team out of them. So you have made a good start in that regard, but we know it's not all stats. Tom, you spoke of Pellegrini tempering expectations with the side. Well, one player we may need to temper expectations on is Declan Rice. He was involved with England, and we're going to be talking all about that next.
From Ali to Zaha, we've got it covered. Love Sport Radio. Are you being fobbed off by a company? Are they letting you down? And are your complaints falling on deaf ears? We can help you out. Come to aspokesmansaid.com and we will give you a voice and a platform to raise your complaints. As recommended in the Daily Telegraph, aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Mr. Davies, to start your car insurance policy, you'll have to pay upfront £850 for the year in one single payment. How does that sound?
£850?
Yes, Mr. Davies.
In one go?
Yes, Mr. Davies.
Today?
Yes, Mr. Davies.
In one single payment?
Yes, Mr. Davies.
What?
With new Aviva Plus, we won't ask you to pay everything up front. Everyone pays monthly at no extra cost. New Aviva Plus, car insurance the way it should be. Excludes Northern Ireland.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search 1U.
This is Love Sport.
You are listening to the West Ham Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined in the studio with We Are West Ham, Will Pugh and Tom Edwards. We were just talking about the 0-0 with Aston Villa last night. Now, though, we're going to take it back a little bit further because we're going to be talking about England's internationals. One of them, very own Hammer, Declan Rice. Will, firstly, A, what did you make of his performance? And B, to both of you, there is a bigger question at stake over the last 2 weeks. A lot of people are talking about bigger club bias. Should James Maddison be starting for England? Obviously a different type of player to Declan Rice, but some are saying that Ross Barkley gets the call. He's at Chelsea when it should be James Maddison. Is there a bigger club bias, Chelsea and Leicester? You're just pleased because Declan Rice is playing, but you would obviously argue that there is no bigger club bias because that's supposedly top six. Declan Rice is playing, deserved of his performance, and he's going to be looking like someone we could maybe build around and be there for a long time to come.
Yeah, I mean, last night, first of all, in his performance yesterday, I thought he started quietly. I thought, I could already see the headlines. England hangover for Declan Rice after affected by negative press after Kosovo performance, blah, blah, blah. And, and luckily enough, he wasn't bad. He just started a little bit sluggish. There was a couple of things I thought, that looks a bit off. But to be honest, after the second half, he came out a new man, didn't he? I mean, the Sky Sports, reeled out a load of stats after the game that made for mouthwatering reading. All the statisticians among us, all the stat attack men, they were drooling over it. And I thought in the second half he put all that to bed, didn't he? He came out, and that's exactly, Southgate was in the crowd as well, so he would have been pleased. He would have known that, Rice, obviously, and I think that's exactly the sort of response that Pellegrini and Southgate will want to see from him, because you remember he's still he's only 20 years old, and that's the sort of thing, the stick. He's had a lot of attention anyway just for playing for England, and then with the Kosovo, the misplaced pass, he got a lot of stick for that, and to bounce back like he did, and he came out and gave a really professional interview afterwards, I think both Southgate and Pellegrini are just going to sit back and go, yep, nice one, Deck, that's exactly what we wanted to see.
Tom, what did you think of his performance for England, firstly?
I thought for England, I think it's easy for a performance to be overshadowed by one mistake, which did cost the goal in the end, and I think it's actually going to benefit England in the long run because he won't make a similar mistake. But aside from that, he was pretty tidy with everything he did. He won the ball back. There was a stat which came out after Bulgaria game and the Kosovo game about how many times he'd won the ball back, which was like double the nearest player for us. I think he's got that position. It's his now, and it's his to lose. And I think the way he's playing at the minute, I can only see him getting better. Bear in mind, he's 20 years old. He's 2 years into playing midfield. He's just still learning on the job, like he said last night. And I think he's only going to get better, and he will be staple of both teams.
You got to remember as well that he was a key part of the build-up to England's fourth against Kosovo. All right, he made the mistake, but then he brilliantly wins the ball back, and within the blink of an eye, he's won the ball back, flipped, knocked it up down the pitch, and then literally 15 seconds later, Sancho's putting it in. And that's easily overlooked because it was a sloppy pass. It was poor, and he'd be getting pelters if he'd done it for West Ham. But
I think there's huge. Sorry, Tom. I think there's huge expectation on Declan Rice because I think that the key fact here that you mentioned, where he's so young, because he plays week in week out for West Ham, and he has done that for the last couple of seasons. I almost go Declan Rice, 23, 24. He's been in the Premier League 5 years. He hasn't. He's still so young. Mistakes are going to happen. He's still learning his trade. If this was any other 20-year-old player, we'd go give him time. International tournaments behind him, a few more years in the Premier League. But what he's doing at this age, if he was maybe at a different club or maybe Spanish or German, would be absolutely raving about him even more. I know we are, but is there an element of truth to that, Will?
I think Pellegrini's come out, and I think he's been brilliant with him. He came out, didn't he, earlier in the week and just said, relax. Noble came out and said the same thing in his Evening Standard column last week. He said, no, everyone, don't worry. Noble said, Declan Rice gave the ball away against Kosovo the other night, and I can guarantee he will definitely give the ball away again in his career, especially in midfield. We have 30 or 40 touches more than the rest of the players on the pitch every single game. Mistakes happen to the best players in the world, and the worst. And I think, it's easy for West Ham to say that, obviously, but I think importantly, Declan Rice is holding on to the idea that, it's all right. I'm not going to let this ruin me. I'm not going to let it completely destroy me. And I think, that's the trait there that's not an easy one to train or learn or pick up. And I think it's just another string to his bow because it's obviously such a mature response.
Massively. And I think when you look at it, his development's so accelerated because he's played like nearly 80 games in the first team for West Ham already. 2 different positions. He's had to learn how to play and be good enough in 2 different positions to play in the Premier League, and he's been very good and solid at both. And now he's found his position, and he's probably one of the most important players in our team already. Definitely top 2, 3. Without him, we look a shambles offensively, quite honestly. And I think he's getting better every game and every month, really.
Well, let me ask then, because I want to come to the bigger club bias. If we take Declan Rice out of there, have you felt as West Ham fans that sometimes your team is overlooked for players that are playing? We know, obviously, we talk about Mark Noble. I know what West Ham fans and you and James certainly think of him. But is there a bigger club bias? Because a lot of players or fans this week are saying James Maddison should be starting for England. I know he plays for Leicester, so let's take it from an England standpoint. Have you felt, has there been times when West Ham players have been overlooked and should be in the side, but because of someone maybe playing at United, playing at a Man City, they're not getting a look in?
Yeah, just not under Southgate. I think that's a ridiculous shout at the moment. I think the Maddison one is probably one. I think the one position on the pitch where you look and maybe go, oh, you know what? But then Kyle Walker got dropped the other day. I know you're saying that was for experimental reasons or whatever, but you know he's the league champions right back. I would argue they're the best, if not one of 2 best right backs in the league, and then maybe Europe, etc., etc. He got dropped the other day. Southgate's not worried about that sort of thing, is he? I do think Maddison deserves a chance, and I think he'll get it. That's what I think. It's easy to get all clammed up and excited about these things, but that's exactly Southgate's brand, isn't it? He's giving these young players a chance, and I think any shouts of that now, I just think, well, go back 5 years ago when it was, any of those managers, Capello, McLaren, whatever. If you pulled on a Liverpool shirt even once or twice in your career, or a Man United shirt, that was it. You were a shoo-in for 10 years.
Exactly, and I think you look at it, James Maddison is getting his chance to prove himself in the squad. He's there training every week. Well, last international, this squad obviously he's been in another one before that, and he's a year and 5 games into playing in the Premier League. Everyone forgets that because he took to it like a duck like water. But also, he didn't have the best under-21 Euros, did he either? So I think there's a reason why they're holding him back, and he's got a lot more to prove before he can really show it on big games. He's got a big squad now.
Well, do you agree? Is there a bigger club bias? You can tweet us at Love Sport Radio or call us 0208 70 20 558. We're talking West Ham. Let's talk now, because I know that you certainly are very, very happy. An RG, a Brazilian, and an English all starting for their international team. Buzzing. Are you?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Clearly not. Tom, are you buzzing? I built that up and I thought Will was going to be absolutely away
He's
there.
Had enough. He's out.
Clearly, that's not enough.
Yeah.
I thought that
half a dozen.
I thought that was one of your ultra-professional talk-ups to the break.
No, sorry, mate.
Very sorry.
I'm trying to get the people to tweet in and carry our beautiful conversation on.
No, you're right. But the Declan Rice thing is excellent. I think that's almost most surprising to have an England international, although I do think with Southgate everyone is going to get a chance. But when you think of it, if you said to West Ham, even 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, oh yeah, we'll have a Brazilian international, an Argentinian international, and an England international, as well as Poland and all the other, the other guys we've got in that team. We'll have a team full of internationals, basically. With those countries, you snap your hand off, wouldn't you? Well, you wouldn't have believed whoever it was who was telling you, basically.
Massively. I think the positive about it is all 3 have got their chances through their football for West Ham and performing for West Ham. Lanzini didn't have a cap before he came to us. Anderson had one, but it was straight after the Olympics or something. It was a few years ago. And obviously Rice was nobody, he just came through. Obviously Ireland, touchy subject, but however...
Careful, Tom,
yeah,
careful.
Exactly, don't want the hate. But exactly, having those 3 who've done it on merit from playing football for West Ham shows that we've a bit of a pulling power, I think, to other international footballers to be like, look, you can come here and if you play well enough, you will be noticed. And I think that was a big reason why Haller actually signed, because he wants to get in the French squad, and I think we've got the profile now where if he performs for us, he'll get his chance.
Well, that's one of the reasons why West Ham is an attractive option, because you spoke about the players there that have got their international caps. It's been through merit plan for West Ham, so Sebastian Haller, he could now do this, build on that like the others have done. I want to talk about Anderson a little bit, because I thought he was really, really good last night. For me, he feels like someone that, again, maybe doesn't get enough credit, flies under the radar. I'm not quite sure why. Is there an element to his game, Will, the one thing that maybe, if he is lacking, just a little bit of consistency, because sometimes he can fade in and out of games? Is that fair?
I think it is almost, but sorry, just to interject quickly, we've just had someone on Twitter, Jake Watson, friend of the show, obviously, he's just tweeted, I think there is a big club bias. Delph hardly played for Man City, yet always played for England, moves to Everton, and now isn't in the England squad. James Maddison again been undoubtedly superb, but he then mentions Mason Mount has played 3 games for Chelsea and gets 2 caps straight away. So I think there perhaps is still a feeling out there, obviously, that the bias still exists. But I'm just not sure under Southgate. I think even if it is there, I think it's obviously loads better, and I think it's hard to sort of slap that attitude down when there's clearly improvements being made.
I think it's tricky because you touch upon the Gareth Southgate era, and he does look to youth, and obviously Kyle Walker got dropped, but obviously I think James Maddison, he's stats, because we are obsessed with stats, aren't we? We're thirsty for stats when pundits offer it up, but he's stats on assists and goals, and he's plays definitely a leader of that Leicester team. I think there's one, if he should be starting, it should be him, and I think the Mason Mount maybe sort of emphasises that problem a little bit more, because 1 year at Derby, 3 games at Chelsea, and then he got called up and he's starting, and it's sort of maybe like, what else can James Maddison do?
What I will say about Mason Mount, to be fair to him, is he was called up for how he was playing at Derby before. He'd already been called up to the squad, so Southgate's obviously known a bit about him. Tonight he's playing in the Champions League. He's quite accelerated again, and he's now one of the leaders of that Chelsea team in the front 4 already, which sounds crazy to say it, but him and Tammy Abraham have been unbelievable. So you can see why Southgate would want to get him involved, because he is exciting talent, and he's arguably had a better start to the season than Maddison had. So.
I do think Maddison would do the same in Chelsea's team, though. I think that's the point Jake's making there, is that while if Maddison had a Chelsea shirt on and had done what he's done for Leicester in a Chelsea shirt, he'd perhaps be a shoe-in. And so I do understand that there probably still is a little bit of that there, but then on the other hand, you don't get contracts with Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Man City by being a bad player anyway, do you? So I think it's a bit of 6 and 1, half a dozen on the other.
Well, maybe Southgate's trending in the right direction, but he hasn't quite got there yet. Let's quickly go back to that Anderson question then, Will, because I said, has he flown under the radar? And you said it is almost fair to say a little bit of consistency is the problem, but you was going to expand on that.
Yeah, I think last night was a prime example, basically. It was a very Felipe Anderson sort of game where he sort of had the opportunity, and we needed him then to step up and grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and it was he just did his usual. He showed flashes, and in the first half he looked really classy. He was giving Freddie Gilbert, the Aston Villa right back, he was giving him a bit of a runaround, to be honest, and we were focusing a lot of our attacks down the left anyway, so Lanzini was shifting over to the middle onto Anderson's side, mainly because Yarmolenko was having an absolute stinker. But I think Anderson now, he tracks back a lot, which I think a lot of his players certainly are grateful for, and I think that gets overlooked quite a lot, that he does work hard on the defensive side of the game, which for a £45 million flair player is quite rare. But I think he just needs to, this season, again last night, it's one of those games where you think, right, this is on you now, be the man, be the £45 million, this is why I'm better than all of you lot. And it was one of them again. He just didn't do it, and I know it was difficult because once Masuaku got taken off, Pellegrini has to throw the playbook up in the air, and then he hauls Anderson off. And I kind of, when he did take him off, I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was kind of like, "Well, yeah, you haven't exactly ripped trees up tonight, so."
Strange one. We still need Anderson to do that little bit more. Well, you may be missing James Jones' dulcet tones tonight as he's not here. Tom Edwards has stepped in, and what a show it's been. But don't worry, because the West Ham quiz is still right here, and it's next.
Love sport. We've all got one, and we're not afraid to put it on display. Our opinions, that is. Share yours now at Love Sport Radio on Twitter, or call us 0208 70 20 558. Love Sport Radio, your fan station.
Hi, my name's Bob. I'm a retired civil servant from Durham. I used the advice that a spokesman said gave me to haggle with Sky to reduce my monthly payments from £86 per month to £43 per month, which was a saving of £774 over the 18-month contract. A nice little result, if I say so myself, but it was only due to a spokesman said, and it's brilliant advice, that I was able to do a deal for the new contract.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at a message, requiring of a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
They've called it Archie, Harrison, Mountbatten, Windsor.
Okay.
So we're going to be running around the playground soon with all the other little Oscars and Hughs and Hugo. Hugo, darling, come on, your quinoa's getting cold.
I don't mind quinoa when it's cold.
Right, okay, that's what you took from that, is it?
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, what's the baby called again? The quinoa's not that bad when it's cold, though, is it?
No, it's not. I have just eaten some quinoa as well, so I'm a frothing hypocrite.
Yeah.
Although healthy while I do it.
Some more big news today concerning Bolton Wanderers. Lawrence Bassini's takeover looks to be off, and we're joined now by Roger Allinson, a board member of the Bolton Supporters Trust. Afternoon, Roger.
Hello.
Hello.
What on earth is quinoa?
Yes! You can tell you're from Bolton. I love it.
Weekdays from 6 a.m. This is Love Sport.
You are listening to the West Ham Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins. I'm joined in the studio with We Are West Ham, Will Pugh and Tom Edwards. No James Jones for this West Ham quiz. We were just looking at that disappointing 0-0 draw with Aston Villa last night. We will be previewing the game with Man United next. We'll be talking to Don Booth. But now it is time for the West Ham quiz. And as we know, points mean prizes, and the prizes are serious in this one indeed. Tonight's quiz has a twist. It is different. I'm going to give you a year, and you need to name players who are on the official squad from that year. Will go in turns. The first one to blink, the first one to get one wrong, you lose a life, shall we say, or the other person gets a point. Then we will change the years. The first year will be 2015-16 season.
Last season at Upton Park.
That's where I thought I'd start. Are you ready? Okay.
So, who's going first, me or Tom?
Tom, it's your on. I'll give you first play because you are our guest tonight and you're playing in honour of James Jones,
and
who
you
is
hate
the
me
leader.
seeing winning anything.
Yeah, honest, I'll be honest, Tom. Nothing gives me greater pleasure than Will losing, so no pressure. I know you are, my friend. So, Tom, if I could have your first player from the 2015-16 West Ham season.
Mr. West Ham, Mark Noble.
Diafra Sakho.
Dimitri Payet.
Whoa, I was going to say correct.
Isn't it quick fire?
Yeah, but I need to
No,
make sure.
We just call it if we get one wrong, surely.
So you went
Diafra Sakho.
And you went
Payet.
Yep.
Ogbonna.
Lanzini.
That's far too quick for me.
Adrian.
Randolph.
Cresswell.
Koyate.
Alex Song.
Emenike.
Yelovic.
Masuaku.
Yelovic is not on there.
Yelovic.
Oh, he was. He did play.
He did play in that season, didn't he? Yeah. So sportsmanship from Tom.
No, I know. I completely agree. But if we're going on the squad list, he's not on there.
I'll take it.
I can show you it, but this is what I said. You're going too quick for me to check.
Ridiculous. So you're not having Nikita Yelovic?
Well, he did play, didn't he? So maybe this is what I mean. This squad list, it's already gone. It's already gone wrong.
It's already gone. All right,
it's already gone
Tom,
wrong.
you can have it.
You sure?
It. Yeah. Well, that was the rules, wasn't it? If it was on the list.
All right. I'll happily show you the list.
I'll trust
right.
you,
This time, let's go one by one. This time, okay? I'm going to start with the 2004-05 season. Will, you did lose that point, but because you was a sportsman and you agreed to go with that, you can start this one.
Is that championship? Was it 04-05?
Don't tell him.
All right, yeah, that was the last
tell.
latter promotion season, wasn't it? All right, okay.
You was in the championship. You were 6th that year.
Right,
73 points.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
So
right, yeah, Mark Noble.
Obviously,
Anton Ferdinand.
Oh, Jesus, Danny Gabardon.
James Collins.
This is Adam Noland.
So check that one.
He must have still been in there.
That is wrong.
Yeah.
Oh no, Adam Nolan.
That is
Year
there is
before.
no Adam Nolan.
And he's only
Tom
there a
is
year.
adamant that it was the year before. Well, West Ham fans, if you know this, please call us 0208 70 25 for fake. On this Wikipedia squad list, Will, there is no Adam Nolan.
No, he was year before. He was year before.
I'm genuinely trying not to disrupt your form.
I'll tell you, my
All
knowledge
right.
is too niche.
No, your knowledge is too good. You're going far too fast for me. I'm the worst quizmaster in the world. We now go to the 2010-11 season.
Oh, blimey.
You have to give me a bit of time to get it because I have to scroll through the list. Will, again, I will give you the honour.
Tom will go first this time.
Tom, you can go first. 2010-11 season.
Abdoulaye Faye.
Oh,
wait.
That's minging. This is championship again?
Yeah, I think he's championship again.
I'll be honest.
I'm going to go...
Abdoulaye Faye is not on the list.
For champion...
For 2010, 2011.
2010.
No, you was in the Prem and you got relegated. You was 20th.
Absolute stinker.
Faye is not on the list, so Will is 2-1.
I give one awful quiz that was. What a shambles.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna mix it up then because I'm gonna go to your last season at Upton Park. I'm gonna do a quick tiebreaker, even though it is 2-1, because we kind of you're better than me. I need to scroll through. I'm gonna give you a squad number from that year, and you need to get the player, okay? Because then I can have it in front of me.
Right.
Okay.
I like it.
Number 25 of the 2015-16 season. I've even got some clues here.
Go on, clues.
Canadian.
Jesus. Canadian?
Centre back.
I know it.
Go on then.
Daniil Henry.
That is correct.
Oh, God, blimey. Is he?
Am I redeeming myself?
Yeah, was he
slightly?
about 16 or something? Was he? Yeah.
Well, he's only 26 now, so
Right, go on.
Okay.
Number 25.
Right.
This has got to be quick fire.
20. Squad number 20 of that season.
No, Forbear had gone by then, didn't he?
If I give you the nationality, I think you would get it very quickly.
Julian Forbear.
Victor Moses.
That is correct.
Good shout, yeah.
Great shout. Okay. Squad number 33.
Albina?
No. Scottish.
Quasi?
No. Left back.
Oh, don't. Stephen Hendry.
That is correct.
This is all youth players, aren't they?
Well, because I think the obvious ones are fairly tough.
yeah.
All right, well, as always, because you won't believe it, but I'm giving you a chance. I'm going to carry on. Number 34.
Didn't Song played a weird number that year, didn't he? It wasn't him though, was
I'll
it?
give you a chance. Goalkeeper.
Marek Stech? No.
Switzerland.
Oh. Yeah, I know the fella. Spiegel.
That is correct.
Yeah.
All right. In the fun of sport, let's have a tiebreaker. Let's pretend that let's pretend you're level.
This is our 8th tiebreaker.
And
of the evening.
I'm now going to go to that 2010-11 season when you were 20th in the Premier League, and this is the tiebreaker. Okay.
This is like Avram Grant in
Right.
that era, wasn't it? Yeah.
This is huge.
This is huge. This means a lot.
Go on.
31. Squad number
Collison?
31. No.
Jack Collison? Oof. He did play Elliot Lee?
31.
Belgian.
Belgian?
Oh,
No.
Lars Jacobsen. No,
Nah.
not Belgian, Danish.
Yeah, 37 as well.
That's a
This
horrid
is
one,
going to
yeah.
be an absolute rascal youth.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper.
Isn't it?
Oh,
Belgian keeper.
Ruud Boffin.
Yes!
Oh, man.
Unbelievable form.
That's
I think,
huge.
unfortunately, Tom has won tonight's quiz. It was a mix. We put a twist on it. Yeah,
I didn't,
Tom.
I didn't mind. It's only a friendly.
Yeah, it was a friendly. It was a pre-season warm-up. Well, if I'm honest, I tried to give you a few lives at the end.
I think the
tried to
Yelovich
mix up
thing
what it
threw
should
me
be.
off because we all know Yelovich
yeah,
played that
it
season.
went.
And I'll be honest, give you a defence. Sometimes Wikipedia not always correct.
This is true, Charlie.
Because squad list, I know you two mentioned a player. You said he definitely played that year, wasn't on that Wikipedia list. So sometimes I'm not quite sure because Wikipedia is actually quite weird. They only show this is really boring stat. They only show league appearances for a team rather than cup games.
And I'm not sure when we picked up Yelovich. Did we pick him up in
January.
January?
Yeah, he picked him up in
that might
January.
have been the beginning of the season squad list. But
So I think in
whole
sports,
quiz void, I win.
Well, I was going to be nice. I was going to say tie, and I thought that was
No
quite. No chance. Well, Tom wins tonight. James Jones is the overall winner. But next we turn our attentions. Next,
Vile.
this is what we do on Love
Vile.
Sport Radio. We turn our attentions to the game on the weekend, the big game on Sunday, West Ham versus Man United. I'm delighted to say we'll be joined by Dom Booth.
It's all in the name. Love Sport Radio. Digital radio offers great sound quality and more stations than ever before. And we want to make sure that you get Love Sport on your digital radio. Just press the auto tune or auto scan button and Love Sport will appear on your menu. Love Sport on digital radio. If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit wedooh.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Love Sport.
You are listening to the West Ham Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins. I'm joined in the studio with Will Pugh and Tom Edwards from We Are West Ham. We were just doing the West Ham quiz. Unsurprisingly, Will lost again. No James Jones, but Will's losing streak just continues. We were talking about West Ham's 0-0 draw with Aston Villa. Now, though, we turn our attention to the weekend. West Ham take on Manchester United in what is a massive fixture. And I'm delighted to say Dom Booth joins us on the line, writer for MEN. Dom, thank you for giving us a little bit of your time. Man United will be feeling confident ahead of this one. A brilliant 1-0 home win to Leicester. Clean sheet, 3 points. How will Man United be tackling the game on the weekend, Dom?
Hi, Charlie. It was a great win. Not potentially in terms of performance, but just one of those where United just needed to get a result, really. And it'll give them great confidence going into the West Ham game. What might complicate things is they've got Europa League on Thursday night. You're playing Kazakhstan team Astana. So the depth of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's squad is going to be tested, I think, ahead of West Ham. And they've had a few injuries as well. So I think it's going to be a tough week for United, even though they got that morale-boosting win.
I quite like the sound of that, Dom, to be honest. The Europa League reminder there, because, traditionally teams don't do particularly well after those games, do they? I think, to be honest, that aside, though, I think West Ham would be, as we were last season, obviously beat United at the London Stadium last year, and I think West Ham this season, going against any team, maybe bar City, will back ourselves to get a result. Is there any trepidation or fear from a United perspective?
Potentially. I think United have got to solve a problem away from home against teams like West Ham. We saw it when they went to Wolves and Southampton earlier this season. They haven't controlled the game against these sides. They've allowed teams to pack the midfield, to make it hard for them, and they haven't had the sort of cutting-edge in midfield ball-playing skills, really, to get through these teams. So I think that's where I'd be worried about from a United perspective. What has been encouraging has been the defence. Harry Maguire seems to be really stepping up, seems to be a great fit already. United fans are enjoying the fact that City didn't get him, and now they've got a defensive crisis. So that's one to watch out for. I think I'd be a little bit worried about breaking West Ham down. I think that's the bottom line.
I wouldn't be worried about that if I was you, Tom, to be honest. No, I think it's a difficult one, really. I think you will be, one of very few teams saying they're worried about breaking us down this year, to be honest. I don't know if you saw the game last night, but Sebastian Haller didn't have his best game. In fact, it was probably his worst since we've seen him at the club. And I just think, at London Stadium, like I say, we are fairly confident. But from a United standpoint, what do you think West Ham should be targeting to, if we're going to get anything out of the game?
Well, I think, like I said, the midfield region is somewhere you can definitely boss. I think the players you've got, I'm so impressed with Declan Rice. I know some people inside United are impressed with Declan Rice as well, as you're probably aware of. Obviously, your strength is also the front three. I'm a big fan of Felipe Anderson as well. And United obviously have weaknesses at the back, which has been shown last season for a long time. And last season, this season they have shored that up. So that's going to be an interesting battle, I think. If you've got someone like Anderson running against Aaron Wan-Bissaka, is going to be a really interesting battle. And obviously Haller against Lindelof and Maguire. I had to probably suggest Haller should be isolating Lindelof, who's looked a little bit suspect in the air at times since he's been at United. So, yeah, some intriguing ones.
Dom, you mentioned Rice there, and obviously probably the week leading up and everything's going to be about him and United and if he's going to go there. So I was thinking, you mentioned people in the club want him, but how soon do you reckon they're thinking about launching a bid for him, considering his new contracts and the position he is in his career? Do you think that's imminent?
Well, that's the problem. Obviously, his contract situation and the fact that it seems to be a pretty extortionate fee if they're going to get him. Obviously, that hasn't put them off in the past with Maguire, but I can see United. What they need to do is they need to find out whether Scott McTominay is a long-term fit for this role, because he has looked quite good at times this season. He had a very good game against Leicester. They've got Fred coming back. He's a £52 million midfielder who can play there too. So United have got to sort of get their own shop in order, really, and see if they need a player like Rice, if they need to spend that much, or if they probably put their priorities further up the pitch. They're also interested in James Maddison and Jadon Sancho, and they're not going to come cheap either. So there's no way United can afford all three, and none of those three will come in January.
Dom, do you think Declan Rice would want to go to Man United? 'Cause, I mean, I'm assuming if Man United are going to be in for him, that will mean at least one of the other top six, or there's going to be other big clubs who are interested in his services. And certainly from my perspective, I think if he had the choice, do you think United's a sort of project that he's going to want to sign up to at the moment, given the state of the club?
Well, it didn't seem to dissuade Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, who I'd put in a similar bracket to Maguire as up-and-coming English players.
Yeah.
United have still got a pull. I don't care what anyone says. United have still got a massive pull. The size of club that they are. You can argue with that if you want, but I don't see it, and I see United has actually been quite a good club for people to join at the moment, because they can improve. You can come in and you can be one of the stars. You can come in and improve Man United, whereas in the past you might not be playing. So that's an interesting sort of dynamic that's sort of hit United in the last probably year or so. I can understand Rice is very loyal to West Ham, so if he did stay, I think he has declared his intention to stay for the time being. That's understandable, I guess.
Dom, do Man United feel like with that win on the weekend to Leicester 1-0, does their season really start now? I know we're only 4 or 5 games in, but a great win after the international break, that clean sheet, albeit to Leicester, who many people fancied. The Man United fans like, right, we found ourselves now, we can click into gear, the season begins now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've played well in patches this season. They've had a half against Wolves, an excellent second half against Chelsea. They were very poor against Southampton and Palace. And they weren't fantastic against Leicester, like I said, but it is a good kickstarter, I think. And to get a result like that against a team who a few people were starting to, I think, probably a little bit prematurely tip for top 4 and things like that in Leicester, that was a good one for Solskjaer. It's not a blueprint for the season, though, because the manner of it was a little bit too defensive. It wasn't the kind of football Solskjaer wants to be playing. So I think United is such a cliche. I think it is one game at a time at the minute, especially with these Europa League games to look at, even this one before the West Ham game.
Well, Dom, obviously West Ham won this fixture last year, 3-1. They'll obviously be hoping for a similar result. What is your score prediction for the weekend?
I think a real low scorer. I think I'll say 1-0 to United.
1-0 to United. It was 1-0 on the weekend to Leicester. They'll be happy with that. 2 clean sheets, 6 points from 2 games. Dom, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for giving us the Man United perspective. Hopefully we'll speak to you soon. Dom Booth there, writer for the MEN. Low scoring, 1-0 to United. Not quite sure I agree with that. Will, what's your thoughts on the game?
Well, surprised he thinks we'll be hard to break down. Cause,
you had a little smile to that one.
It seems absolutely bizarre. Because,
but you'll take it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think me and Tom were chatting earlier on and just saying how we've had 2 clean sheets in a row now, but we don't really know how, because the last thing we look like at the back is stable, isn't it? Fragile was the word that kept coming to my mind last night. And, I think the problem is you're going to get that, aren't you, when you've got 2 fullbacks who are such attacking-minded players. You will lose that bit of balance. And I thought we looked a little bit susceptible last night, because in little short spells, we were knocking the ball around a little bit, like in Villa's half, and then all of a sudden we'd lose it because, again, like I was saying, Haller wasn't moving around much, which wasn't opening up space for the midfielders, or, he didn't have chances to dink balls over the top into the channels towards Haller. And where that happened, the attack would tend to go blunt, Villa would pick up the ball, and all of a sudden, where Rice and Noble had kind of moved up the pitch, we looked like really vulnerable on the counter-attack, like 20 minutes into the game. And then you've got, Fredericks and Masuaku who want to get up with the attacks, herring it back. Well, Fredericks wasn't herring back, but, supposed to be herring back. And you just look really, really vulnerable in early stages of the game. And I think, although we're not going to control the ball and have as much of the ball against Man United, I think they could still easily score against us. But I do think that them having a bit more of the ball will play into our hands, because we are a bit more of a counter-attacking team.
Well, sorry, Tom, I was going to say West Ham do have a good history against West Ham. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I think we will definitely be leaky. I think there's goals in this game from both teams. I think they need a win away from home to squash everything, and we would definitely play open. My big worry defensively is obviously what we mentioned before, but who's going to replace Masuaku, because his pace against
won't it?
Has to be. But then the worry is Rashford's pace against him, pulling off on him. Either him or Zabaleta have the same problem, but that's an extra worry that we probably didn't have if Masuaku does play and was fit. But we will be open, we'll go for the game, and we'll feel like we can beat him there.
Well, just very quickly then, score predictions. Tom, what do you think?
3-1, same as last year, West Ham.
Double result, double whammy. West Ham 3-1. Will, do you agree?
No.
Well, that's that.
I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham.
But both going for the West Ham win, which will take. It's a great start back off the international break, beating Man United. Will says 2-1. Tom says 3-1, a repeat of last year. Dom, our opposition review, he said 1-0 to United. This has been the West Ham Fan Show with We Are West Ham. We will see you next week.
This is Love Sport.
Please state your reason for this call.
I would like to